जी सर.
Yes.
Okay, great. So today's project is gonna be a little interesting. So have you guys played Ludo?
Yes.
Okay. So basically, it's related to that. It's not that complex, but it has something to do with that Ludo. So let's say ludo.html boilerplate and yeah, screen recorded. So for styling, we're gonna use Bootstrap. So the layout we want to do is the project we want to do is we would have two players and this is the dice face. This is the face for player 1. This would be the face for player 2. Here we would have a button which the players can press in order to do their turn, and the button here, and here we would have result that's gonna show who wins. Okay, so this is the layout first. Okay, so now what's the plan, what's the project about is about is, so what we have to do is first the player 1 is going to click on this button, and out of the 6 faces we have on a dice, one of the face is gonna be displayed here randomly. Out of the faces, we would have a face displayed randomly out of 1 2 3 4 5 or 6. Similarly, when the player 1 is done with its turn, we're gonna press the player 2 button, and again out of those random 6 faces, one of the face would be displayed on the player 2 side. So this is the player 1 side, this is the player 2 side. Okay, so after both of the players have done done with their turns, the player with greater face is going to be declared winner. For example, we press this button, the player 1 button, and player 1 has the 3 face with them. Player 2 on the other hand has the 5 face with it. So who wins? So who wins?
Player two.
Player 2. Yeah. So this right here should say player 2 wins, and we would have those celebration fireworks going on after we declare the winner. So that is the whole project structure. So any questions about the project breakdown, about the project we want to do? Any questions about it?
No.
Okay, great. So let's start. First we're going to do the designing. So for designing we are going to use Bootstrap. So I think we had included Bootstrap, yeah, here. So I'm going to put here, save it, make it go live, and yeah, let's say the title to be Ludo. Perfect. Now let's do the designing. So in the body I'm going to have a container with a padding of 5 with some shadow. Perfect, we have it. And inside it we have two divs separated by. So what should we do if we want to have them side by side, if we want to align them side by side? How do we do that in Bootstrap?
Row.
Row, good. So row, inside the row how many columns is each one taking?
We do 4, 3, 6, and 6.
Yeah, we can say 6 here, 6 here. Is going to be outside the container, so it's not the part of this container. So we can say call lg6, not 5, 6. Perfect. Okay, inside these we're gonna have a card, so we can have a separation between them. So card, and let me remove this because it's almost similar to the first one. So inside the card we're gonna have an image of the dice face, the starting image. So I'm gonna say, let's say dice face. Let's do a PNG one. We want the transparent. So where's that 3D? Yeah, maybe this one, or maybe this one. Perfect. Right click, copy image address, and inside it we're gonna have this. And for the width I'm gonna say 100% of the card. For the height, let's make a fixed height of 400 px. It's being stretched. So what's the class in order for me to make it fill up the parent? Have we studied about the class when our images are stretched or squeezed? So how can we make them right? When we have a scenario like this,
Yeah, so like it will adjust the width.
we can adjust the width, but there was something else, another property. So I'm going to target the image. So the property was object fit. Have we discussed about this? Object fit. Okay, anyways, so if you have images that are squeezed or that are stretched because of the height or width, we can adjust them by object fit, and then we can put cover here. Cover would mean that the image has to take up the entire space of the parent, even if the image, if it crops itself, even if the image crops itself, it has to take up the full space of the parent, so it fits in perfectly. Okay. Okay, beneath this we're gonna have a button with a class of, let's say, what is the class for button in Bootstrap? What's the class for button in Bootstrap?
BTN.
BTN, good. Now I want a blue button. What's the class for a blue
Primary.
button? Good. We can say BTN dash primary, and it's gonna say player one. Why don't, because it's BRN not BDN, so BDN dash primary. Yeah, perfect. Let's have a little margin and make the button go outside the card. Perfect. Let's have a margin from top and bottom. Make the width to be 100%. Perfect. And let's give our custom classes to the image and the button so we can target them in JavaScript. So I'm going to give it a class of, let's say, img1, or img-1 would be better. And similarly, we can give a class of btn-1, yeah, for button. Okay, perfect. The same thing we need for the player 2. So instead of image1, we're going to give it image2, btn1, btn2, and it's going to say player 2. And let's change the color to bt, and let's say info. Perfect. Okay, now let's open the console as well so we can see what's going on. Yeah, okay, so now what we want to do is we want to change the image whenever the button is clicked. We want to change the image. That's what we want to do. Okay, let's make the random images pop up for the later part. The first thing we need to do is when we click on this button, I want this image to change. So how can we do that? First of all, that's only can be achieved by JavaScript. So I'm going to put a script here. Okay, so the first thing I want to do is I want to get this image from, no, I don't want to do that. You have to tell me what's the first question we have to ask ourselves. What is the first question we need to ask ourselves whenever we do JavaScript? What was the question?
The DOM.
Yeah, the DOM. Yeah. So what's
object model.
Yeah. So what do we have to do whenever we want to do DOM manipulation? Like, which elements do we need to work on?
Which elements?
Yeah.
Yes.
So I'm gonna say, let's say image1. So I'm gonna say document dot query selector and then dot image1. Similarly, we can do let image2 is equals to document dot query selector and then dot image2. Similarly, we need to get the buttons as well. So again, btn1, btn2, just as the AI suggests. So what we did here is document dot query selector image 1, 2, 3, 4. This gets all the elements from HTML into JavaScript. Let's confirm it. Console.log and this. So perfect. We have this image 1. We have the image 2. We have the button 1. We have the button 2. Perfect. Okay, now what I want to do is I want to attach an event listener to this button, this first button. So what should I do? How can I attach an event listener on the button? What's the code?
Button 1.
Good. Button 1.
No. Add event listener.
Dot add event listener. And then we want to attach a clicked event. And then we want to perform a function. Good. Now we want to change this image to some other image. So let's first get the image. Maybe let's say this one. The copy image address. And inside the click, we're gonna say image1. So how do we change the image? We change what? We change the source. So if we change the source, we change the image. So what we're going to do inside the function is, whenever I click on button 1, I want my image 1 to have a source. So I'm going to say .src. It's going to get the source of image 1. So image 1 .src is equals to, we want the src to be equal to this, the one I copied just now. So when I click, it changes the source. Is that clear? That's how we can That's how we can change the sources of the image. Okay, now we know how we can change the source of the image. But now we want to get the dice faces, like a random dice face. So first let's get the random dice faces. So yeah, this dice 6 faces, and yeah, this is the one. I'm gonna download it, and then this is the 4, download, 5, download, and 6, download, 3, again download, and then we have 2. I think we have all of the faces now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah. So what we are going to do is, I'm going to create a folder here, and I'm going to say faces. So after the creating the folder, I'm going to take all of the images and put them one by one inside the folder. So drag and drop. Perfect. Now let's give them some easy names so that we can access them later on. So this one is 5, this one is 4, this one is 1, 6, 3, and this one is going to be 2. Perfect. Now what I want to do is, I want to have a source to be, let's say when I click on the button, I want my image 1 to have a source of this 1.png. So how can we change that? So the 1.png is inside the faces folder, and faces folder is inside the same folder that we have our ludo.html file in. So how many dots are we going to put here? We want to redirect it to the faces folder, and the faces folder is in the same folder, is on the same level as the ludo.html. So we have to put only one dot. One dot would mean that the folder we want to target is inside the same folder. So slash, and then we want to go inside the faces folder, slash, and which image do we want to get? Like I want to have a first face being shown. So I'm going to say go to the faces folder and get me the 1.png image, and 1.png is what? It's a one face.
Type 1?
Yeah.
With 1 on it?
Yeah, exactly. Save it and let's test it out. We have 1. So if I were to make it, let's say 3.png, so which face are we going to get?
Dice 3.
Exactly. So now we know how can we target each face. But this number needs to be dynamic. Dynamic in a sense that it has to be a random value from 0 to what?
6.
Well, if we were to count from 0 and go up to 6, we would have 7 faces.
5.
5. Good. So now what we want to do is we want to generate a random number from 0 to 5. Yes, that's what we want to do. So how can we do that? How can we, I'm going to cut this one out for the time being. So how can we generate a random number from JavaScript? Like how does JavaScript do it? So we don't have to do it. It's done already done in JavaScript. So I'm gonna be inside this button, so we can click and we can get random number on every click. So how can we do that? We have a library that's called math. I'm gonna console log it so we can see. So console.log. So we have a library already built in JavaScript that's called math. And math has a lot of functions that's related to maths. We have cosines, we have tangents, we have floor, we have ceil, we have round off, like we have a lot of stuff. Like every math function that you can think, we have this in math library. But what we want from math library is a function that's called random. Random function is already being built in the math library that is already being built in JavaScript. So I'm going to say math dot random. So this is a function that is going to return you a random value, but that random value is only gonna be with a range of 0 to, why isn't this my dash working? Okay, 0 dash this. So this math dot random is gonna give you a random number from 0 to 0.99, or we can say 1, but 1 is excluded. Okay, so let's test it out. So we can see it. Why can we see it? Why can we see the number? Because this functionality is implemented when?
Look how much is her. You didn't click it.
Yeah, exactly. We haven't clicked it. So I'm going to click it. So can you see the numbers? Every time I click,
Yeah.
we have a random number that pops up. And that number is in the range of 0 to 1, but 1 is excluded. But how, what was the number that we wanted to have? What was the random number we wanted to have? From which range? Like what was the, yeah?
1 through 6.
Yeah, 1 to 6, but indexes start from
Wouldn't it be from 1 to 5? 0 and 5.
0 and 5. Yeah, good, 0 and 5. So how can we achieve that? Like this random function only gives us a range from 0 to 1, but we want a range from 0 to 6. How can we do that? Think like a programmer. Like it's a purely logical question.
So you just said to use math random. That's what's going to help us achieve from 0 to 5?
Math at random is only gonna give you 0 to 1. How can we manipulate this random for it to give us a number from 0 to 6? How can we do that? Like think like a programmer. Like this math dot random. Yeah, we can do what?
We'll do it by put the range from 0 to 5.
Yeah, that would be one thing that we can put like this, 0 and 5. It would be really good. But the only problem is this random function do not take any parameters. Like it has to be empty, otherwise it's not going to work.
Did we do it from 0 to 7?
We can't do anything inside these parentheses. We cannot do anything because it doesn't allow it. Think. This math.random gives us 0 to 1. So what would happen if we were to multiply it with 6? For example, let's say the first time I click, I get 0.5, or maybe for example, let's say we're not going to do 6 this time. Let's say I want a number from 0 to 100. Okay, so I'm going to multiply it with 100. So let's say first time I click, I get 0.5. But the number I get from random, I do what? I multiply that number with 100. So what do I get? I get 50. So now we have numbers being generated from 0 to 100. So what we can do is we can simply multiply whatever the value we get from random with 6, and it's going to give us numbers from where to where. From where? What's the range?
You multiply the random numbers with 6?
Yeah, we were just gonna do what? We are just getting the value from random, and whatever the value we get, we just multiply it with 6. And what's that gonna do for us? It's gonna make the number range from 0 to 6. Okay, so I'm gonna explain it again. Look, let me put comma here, and I'm gonna say math.random again, but every time I call it, it's gonna give me a different value. So yeah, we can do that. Oh yeah, let's do this. Let me explain what I'm trying to say. Let's say I'm gonna take a variable here, and I'm gonna say I'm gonna call it random, and this is gonna do what? It's gonna hold math dot random. Now tell me this: what is this random holding? What is this, or let's call it R. So what is this R variable holding?
The random number.
From where to where? Like, what's the range this R is holding?
0 to 5?
No, it's just math.random. So math.random only returns me value from 0 to 1, excluding the 1. So this R is holding what? Just numbers ranging from 0 to 1. So let me console log it. R. So we have numbers being called from 0 to 1 random. So what would happen if I were to just multiply R with 10? I've put comma here so we can see what's the same number being multiplied with 10. So we have a number from 0 to 1, and the same number is going to be multiplied with 10. So it's going to give us numbers from 0 to 10 this time. So let's see. We have 0.7, and when it's multiplied with 10, what do we get? We get 7. So now this is gonna give us numbers from 0 to 10 instead of 0 to 1, because every time we click, it multiplies it with 10. So this thing is gonna give us numbers from 0 to 10, and the math.random only gives us numbers from 0 to 1. So if we want to make a range according to our own self, we can just multiply it with the number we desire. So let's do it one more time. So I'm going to say console.log and math.random. So what is this math.random going to give us? Numbers from 0 to 1. But what's the range that we want? What's the range we want?
6.
6. So we can multiply it with what?
6.
6. Good. So it's going to give us numbers from 0 to 6, but it would not include 6 because it doesn't include the last value, and that's exactly what we want, because we have only 5 indexes. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Perfect. But yeah, perfect. But again, the problem is our file names start from 1, 2, 3, 4. Like, it's not decimals. It's what? It's an integer value. It's not a decimal value. So what do we need to do? Like, you tell me what we need to do, and I'm gonna inshallah convert it. So what do we need to do? What do we want to do with these numbers so that they can complement these images? Like, what I want is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, not 1 point something or 3 point something. So what can we do?
You have to do the math.random and multiply by 6.
We already did that. So it's going to give us values from 0 to 6. But I want
to float into integers.
Very good. We want to do what? We want to change these floats into integers. Like, we don't want a floating point number. We just want to have an integer. Okay, so how can we do that? Again, there's again a library in JavaScript that's gonna do that for you. So let me make this go first inside a variable. So I'm gonna say r is equals to math dot random. So this math dot random is gonna give us values from 0 to 1, but we want to have values from 0 to 6. So I'm just gonna multiply it with 6. But this is going to give me values in decimal. We don't want to have decimals. What we want to do, we want to round it off. Either round it off, or we can floor it, or we can seal it. And what are these things that I've just said? Okay, there are three things in JavaScript or in mathematics, in short, and to be exact. So we have floor, we have sorry, not random, round off, and we have, okay, have you guys studied about round off? I guess it was a topic in third or fourth standard, or maybe second standard, I guess. Have you guys studied about round off?
Yeah.
Okay, so what is round off? For example, if I have a number 0.6, what is this going to be round off to?
2.6?
Yeah, it's 2.6. So what is it going to be rounded off to? So if the
To
decimal,
3?
yeah,
3.
good,
To
it's gonna be
3.
equal to 3. So what if we have 2.3? What is this going to be round off to?
2.
2. Good. So what's happening here is we take the value after the decimal point. If that value is greater than 5, if it's 5 or greater than 5, we round it off to the next number. But if that value is less than 5, we round it off to the previous number. That's the round off. We have two other things. We have floor and we have seal. What is floor? Floor always and always gets the value to the previous number. For example, this value is 2.9, although the decimal point is greater than 5. Okay, but floor is going to do what? It's going to make it go where? Yeah, previous value. 2, exactly. And if we have, let's say, 2.8, what about now?
2. 8.
Still 2. It
Oh,
always make it go back to the previous value. Okay, what if we have 2.2? What then?
2.
2 again 2. Yes, floor always makes the value go to the previous number. Seal on the other hand is the opposite. If we have 2.1, seal always take it to the next number. So what's the rounded off value?
3. 3.
Perfect. Okay, so that's the difference between floor, round off, and seal. Okay, now my question to you guys, what are we going to use? Like, we get the value from this to 0. Where's the 0? Yeah, we get the value from 0 to 5. We don't get the 6. So out of these three, what do we need? Just a hint, we don't have a 0 image, like there's no 0.png. We don't have 6 number being included here. So what are we going to do? Are we going to do floor, round off, or seal?
Round off?
Okay,
I
round
think
off.
floor.
Okay, floor.
Not floor?
We have two answers. We have round off and floor. Floor we can't use. Why is that? Because it's never gonna give us 6. It's never gonna give us 6. For example, we have a random value of 5.9. What is this going to give us in floor? What would this 5.9 become in floor?
5.
5. So we would never have a 6 index being called. So if we don't have a 6 being called, is this 6 image ever going to display?
No.
No. So we can use round off or we can use seal. But again, there's a problem with round off. For example, if we have 0.4 being outputted with this value, so what is this going to be rounded off to? 0.
0.4.
Do we have a 0.png here? So
Nope.
again, this is gonna give us an error. So what's the last option?
CO.
CO. So for example, if we have 0.1, it's gonna round it off to what? It's gonna do what?
To 1.
1. Perfect. Now it's not gonna give us 0, and that's exactly what we want. If we have, let's say, 5.1, what is this going to round off to?
A 6.
6. So now we have 1 and 6 being included. So this is the perfect option for us, okay, because this is gonna give us 0. We don't have 0. This is not gonna ever, this is never gonna give us 6. So we can choose this or this. So the perfect option is seal. So what we want to do is, I'm gonna say let seal, okay, or whatever you want to call it, and we're gonna say math dot seal. What do we want to seal? Which value do we want to seal?
The R.
The R. Perfect. Now let's test out the seal, the variable seal. Do we have everything included?
Yeah.
We have all the numbers from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Perfect. Now we have all the numbers being included. Now what do we want to do? Now we want to call these on the image 1 dynamically. So how can we call that? We just did it maybe before starting the random function. What can we say? We can say image1 dot src. Where are all of my images located? Where are all of my images located?
Faces.
Good. So quotation marks. How many dots do I need to put?
1.
Good. 1 slash and faces slash. Okay. Now comes the good part. Which number do we have to put here? Like, where is the random number that we are calculating? Where is that random number? Like, we want to put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 randomly. And where is that random number being stored?
R.
R has a decimal point. We don't need the decimal one.
Seal.
Seal. Good. So we have to include a variable seal here. So now what we are doing is we are joining together string and a variable, and we have discussed about joining strings and variables. Do you guys remember that? How can we join strings and variables? How can we do that?
Concatenation.
Yeah, good, concatenation. And what is the operator for that? It was called
Backtick.
good. It was called backticks, and it's located under the escape key. Perfect. So this backticks is used to concatenate strings and variables. And why are we using it? Because our path is a string, but this number, this thing, the random number is being stored in a variable. Now I'm going to put faces slash, and now we want to include our random number. So how can we include a variable inside this? What was the syntax? We put dollar and then curly braces seal. Now seal is only a number. We have to include .png after it. So I'm going to say .png. Perfect. Now this is going to output something like this. It's going to say faces slash, and let's say this seal generates a random number of 3. So it's going to say 3.png. Next time maybe let's say it generates faces slash 5.png. So this thing is being changed on every click. So this is a random value that is being included. So let's test it out. So we have a random number being generated on every click. I know it is a little complex, but if you were to see this again on repeat maybe 1 to 2 times, it's gonna be easy. We have only 2 lines. Okay, so perfect, it's being done. We want the same functionality to be applied on the button too. So what are we going to do? We can just do what?
We can just copy it down.
Exactly. We can just copy it down and we can change the variables. This time it's going to be btn2 and here as well. Perfect. So let's test it out. Perfect. Okay. Does that make any sense? I know it's not going to make sense like all of a sudden, but again, the as you're doing the project, it's going to make sense. I'm not going to declare the winner here because that will be your homework. The homework is going to be the same project but with some additional functionalities. And what are those additional functionalities? You have to declare the winner. For example, look, the first player is going to take a turn. Let's say it says 3. I'm going to click on this player 2. It says 6. Now the greater number is with 6. So here we would have a heading written with heading written saying player 2 wins. And if both of the values are same, it should say match draw. And if player 1 wins, it should say player 1 wins. So that is your homework. Any questions about the homework?
No.
Any questions about the project?
No.
Okay, great. So that would be it for this class. You have to complete this task before the next class. Okay?
Okay.
Okay, thank you very much. Inshallah, we'll have
Thank
again a meeting
you.
next week. Thank
Allah
you.
Hafiz.
Allah Hafiz. Allah Hafiz.